a vintage Aston Martin, a well-made suit. And then, there is the Eurofighter Typhoon. Look at it, just look at it. It rips a hole in the sky and appears. It's all sharp angles and brutal intent. A collection of triangles designed by someone who clearly thought, you know what the sky needs? More menace. The twin tails are canted outwards, like the flared nostrils of an angry bull. The canards at the front, those little winglets twitch and flex, like a shark that smelled blood. It's not beautiful like a Spitfire, this is not poetry, this is heavy metal. When you see one on the ground, it's squat and powerful, coiled like a spring. The air intake, a massive, gaping maw under the fuselage, not to sip air but to inhale the atmosphere and turn it into fury. You can almost feel the power radiating, even when engines are cold. It's a machine that promises violence. It promises speed. Then they start the engines. Oh yes, that's a moment. Not a roar at first, a deep, gut-rumbling hum that vibrates through your bones. Back in the Cold War, the world was a simpler, if slightly more terrifying place. On one side, you had the Americans with their F-15s and F-16s, brilliant jets, no doubt. On the other, you had the Soviets, churning out MiGs and Sukhois like they were going out of style. Europe? Well, Europe was caught in the middle. They had some decent planes, the Tornado, the Mirage, but they were getting a bit long in the tooth. They were children of the 1970s, and the opposition was getting faster, stealthier, and frankly, a lot scarier. The politicians and generals looked at what was coming over the horizon and had a collective trouser-staining moment of panic. The problem was simple air superiority. It's a fancy term, but it means owning the sky. If you own the sky, you can protect your troops on the ground, you can bomb the enemy into the Stone Age, and you can stop them from doing the same to you. Without it, you might as well pack up and go home. The Americans had it covered, but relying on your loud cousins from across the pond all the time is a bit like always asking your neighbor to borrow his lawnmower. Sooner or later, you need to buy your own. Europe needed a fighter that could take on anything the Russians could throw at it and win, decisively. The next generation of Soviet fighters, like the Su-27 and MiG-29, were incredibly agile. The requirement was clear: build a plane that could outturn, outclimb, and outfight anything in the sky. So the big brains from the UK, Germany, Italy, and Spain got together. They were building the Eurofighter. So you have 4 countries, Britain, Germany, Italy, and Spain, all with their own ideas about what makes the perfect fighter jet. Getting them to agree on anything is like trying to herd cats, drunk cats. The French typically wanted to do it their way, so they stormed off in a huff to build their own jet, the Rafale. That left the Core 4 with a monumental task. The project was called the European Fighter Aircraft, or EFA. It was a political and engineering tightrope walk of epic proportions. The work was split up: Britain, BAE Systems, front fuselage; Canards, right wing; Germany, DASA, Airbus, main center fuselage; Italy, Alenia, left wing; Spain, CASA, right wing flap and slats, like building a car where different countries make different parts. Astonishingly, very little went wrong. They actually pulled it off. The Eurofighter Typhoon became a melting pot of the best aviation technology Europe had to offer. Each nation brought its A-game. Delta wing and canard layout, stable and incredibly agile, built with carbon fiber composites and lightweight alloys, pushing the boundaries of materials science and aeronautical engineering. Today the Typhoon is the backbone of Royal Air Force, German Luftwaffe, Italian Air Force, Spanish Air and Space Force. The Typhoon became one of the most desirable fighter jets on the planet, a testament to what can be achieved when nations put their minds and their wallets together. Let's talk about speed. Your fast road car, a Ferrari perhaps, might do 200 miles per hour. That's cute. A Formula One car on a very good day might hit 230. The Eurofighter Typhoon looks at those numbers and scoffs. Top speed? Mach 2. That's twice the speed of sound, or around 1,550 miles per hour. At that velocity, you could have breakfast in London and be in New York for a second, slightly earlier breakfast. It's so fast that the friction with the air heats up the canopy to the point where you could probably fry an egg on it. This isn't just fast, it's a different realm of existence. But here's the clever bit: the party trick that sets the Typhoon apart. It has something called super cruise. Now, most jets, to break the sound barrier, have to use their afterburners. Think of it as a massive, fuel-guzzling turbo boost. It's effective, but it drinks fuel like a sailor on shore leave. The Typhoon, however, can fly at supersonic speeds, over Mach 1.5, without using its afterburners. Its 2 Eurojet EJ200 engines are so colossally powerful that they can push the aircraft past the speed of sound on dry thrust alone. This is a game changer. It means it can travel faster, for longer, and arrive at a fight with more fuel to actually, fight. The engines themselves are works of art. Each one generates about 20,000 pounds of thrust with the afterburner lit. Power is nothing without control. You can have the most powerful engine in the world, but if you can't turn, you're just a very fast target. This is where the Typhoon truly begins to bend your mind. It is, to use a technical term, aerodynamically unstable. On its own, it wants to tumble out of the sky like a thrown brick. This sounds like a bad thing, but it's actually a stroke of genius. Because it's inherently unstable, it's also ludicrously agile. It can change direction with a speed and violence that would snap a normal airplane in half. It doesn't just turn, it pivots. The secret is a quad-redundant fly-by-wire flight control system. A very, very clever computer sits between the pilot and the plane. The pilot yanks the stick. The computer translates that into minute adjustments to the control surfaces. The canards, the flaperons, the rudder thousands of times a second. Tiny corrections keep the aircraft flying where the pilot wants, preventing it from spiraling into oblivion. Think of it like balancing a broomstick on your palm. It's unstable and wants to fall, but you can flick it around with tiny hand movements. That's the Typhoon. Step inside the cockpit of an older jet, like a Phantom, and you're confronted with a bewildering wall of dials, switches, and gauges. Dials, switches, gauges. Honestly, it looks less like a cockpit and more like the control room of a 1960s power station. It's complicated, confusing, and in the heat of battle, probably quite distracting. Now climb into the cockpit of the Typhoon. The difference is staggering. There are almost no dials. Instead, you are greeted by 3 large, full-color multifunction displays. It's clean, it's minimalist, and it looks more like a high-end gaming setup than the inside of a war machine. This is the glass cockpit philosophy, and the Typhoon takes it to the extreme. Speed, altitude, engine status, weapons, radar picture. The pilot can customize them, moving windows around and prioritizing the information they need for a specific phase of the mission. Then there's the HOTAS system. That stands for hands-on throttle and stick, firing weapons, changing radar modes, communicating. But perhaps the most bonkers feature is something called DVI, or direct voice input. The pilot can literally talk to the plane. It's like having Siri or Alexa, but instead of asking it to play your favorite song, you're asking it to prepare a medium-range missile for launch. A fighter jet without weapons is just a very expensive and noisy way to travel. The Typhoon, fortunately, comes with a toolbox that would make a god of war blush. It has 13 hardpoints, places under the wings and fuselage where you can hang things that go bang. This gives it enormous flexibility. Depending on the mission, it can be loaded up as a pure air-to-air interceptor, a ground attack bomber, a mix of both. It's the Swiss Army knife of aerial warfare, except every tool is designed for maximum destruction. For a dogfight, its primary weapon is the Meteor Beyond Visual Range missile. This thing is a work of genius. While other missiles coast after their rocket motor burns out, the Meteor has a ramjet. That lets it keep burning and accelerating all the way to the target. It's virtually impossible to outrun. For close-in work, it has the ASRAM, a heat-seeking missile. It's so agile it can pull insane G-forces and even shoot at targets behind the Typhoon. If the missiles run out, there's always the cannon. Tucked away in the right-wing root is a 27mm Mauser BK-27 revolver cannon. It's a relic, a throwback to the days of aces in biplanes. But it's devastatingly effective. It can fire 1,700 rounds per minute, nearly 30 explosive shells per second. At that rate, it doesn't just hit a target, it saws it in half. Now, it's easy to say the Typhoon is brilliant when it's sitting on its own, but how does it stack up against the other big boys in the playground? The F-22 Raptor is the king. It's a stealth fighter, and in a head-to-head fight, its ability to be nearly invisible to radar gives it a massive advantage. Then there's the French contender, the Dassault Rafale. This is a brilliant jet, no question. The Su-35 is their top dog, and it's a monster. It's incredibly agile thanks to its thrust vectoring engines. So what makes the Typhoon unique? It's the blend. It has the raw power and agility of a pure air superiority fighter, but it has evolved to have the sophisticated brains and multi-role capability of a modern strike aircraft. It hits the perfect sweet spot between performance, technology, and availability. So what is the Eurofighter Typhoon? Is it just a collection of carbon fiber, titanium, and wires? No. It's much more than that. It's the physical embodiment of European ambition. It's a statement of technological prowess, a declaration that when it comes to building things that are fast, powerful, breathtakingly complex, Europe can still lead the world. It was born from the fear of the Cold War, but it has matured into the guardian of the 21st century sky. It has served with distinction, from policing the skies over the Baltic to conducting strike missions in the Middle East. For pilots, it's the ultimate ride. They speak of it with a mixture of reverence and excitement. They talk about its effortless power, its incredible agility, its intuitive systems. And for the rest of us, the enthusiasts, the people who look up when we hear a roar in the sky, the Typhoon is simply awe-inspiring. It's a rolling, thundering, sky-ripping piece of mechanical art. It's a symbol of power, of engineering genius. It doesn't ask for your respect, it commands it, with the shriek of its engines and its ability to defy gravity. In a world of compromises, the Eurofighter Typhoon is a glorious, deafening exception. It is, and I say this with no exaggeration whatsoever, utterly and completely brilliant.